Senator Kennedy?
Mr. Chairman, may I suggest that at our next meeting, you invite one of the senior officials from the Department of Justice to come before this committee to explain why the Department of Justice is not defending our US Marshals?
Senator, of course I want that question answered. Asking for a hearing before the committee at this point may be premature. There has been a response, I believe. I think Senator...
Well, we know if we send a letter to the Department of Justice, we don't get responses, at least
No, I think he did. I think he's already received it.
So I'll say I did get a response. After 10 days, as Senator Grassley said, it was mostly just a bunch of legal gobbledygook. It gave no answer on the merits about why one U.S. Marshal has already had his representation denied outright, while 3 are still being strung along. I can say that all the parties involved here have heard about the one is that it's not in the interest of the United States to provide representation. Let me say that I'm not going to take that as a satisfactory answer coming from Vanita Gupta's civil division.
Well,
And I'll say secondarily, the 3 who have been strung along, I mean, these incidents happened almost 2 years ago. It took Merrick Garland's Department of Justice barely 3 months to find that the officer who shot Ashley Babbitt on January 6 committed no wrongdoing. Why has it taken them almost 2 years to reach a conclusion in these Marshals cases, after those Marshals stood on the front lines, were assaulted with lasers and ball bearings and fireworks and attacks by left-wing street militias?
Well, if I could finish, Mr. Chairman, and I don't mean to suggest that Senator Cotton shouldn't have jumped in, because I appreciate that answer. But a letter's one thing. Judging the credibility of live testimony is quite another. I would like to reassert my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, that at our next meeting, this is an urgent matter, that we invite a senior representative to the Department of Justice to come explain to us, shouldn't take long, why it is declined to represent our U.S. Marshals.
I'd like to quote from the letter that was sent to Senator Cotton. I'm looking for the date on that letter. I think it's been within the last week or two. I don't see a date on the letter.
It was yesterday.
The Senator received a response yesterday. Let me read from it so that we understand what we're talking about here. The Department of Justice strongly supports the provision of representation for federal officers acting in the line of duty. The Department has received numerous representation requests in connection with official law enforcement conduct relating to the Portland protest. We are providing direct representation or paying for private counsel for over 70 federal employees in response to these requests. To date, we have denied only a single request for representation arising from these events, and 3 requests remain under review. Now, that is not gobbledygook. That is a series of declarative sentences that I think make it clear. 3 cases are being evaluated. 1 they have denied. And for that, we're going to hold up the U.S. Marshal for the Northern
Yeah, we are. We're going
District.
to hold up every department nominee.
Well,
we are.
just
I don't
tell you,
care. I'm glad they're representing the 70. I care about the 4.
Don't give a speech about law enforcement in Northern District and any violent crime if you're holding up the law enforcement officials that are going to be given the responsibility of taking care of that issue. I could share your concerns about wanting to know what they're going to do with the 3 and why the 1 was denied. That is a legitimate concern. But to take it out on law enforcement in Illinois, for goodness sakes, or other states, Minnesota, does that show respect for law enforcement?
Mr. Chairman,
Senator Kennedy.
not to put too fine a point on it, but may I suggest that we invite the author of that letter to come to our next Judiciary Committee meeting and explain this situation?
The author is Peter Hyen, Acting Assistant Attorney General. I do not know him. I think it is appropriate to ask that he or someone he represents come before us. I don't think it has to be a formal committee meeting. Let's find out where we stand on the 4 that Senator Cotton has a question on.
Well, I would look. You're the chairman. You can decline my request, but this concerns me, and I just found out that one of those U.S. Marshals may be in Louisiana, and I think it would behoove all of us to hear together so we could all ask questions from the gentleman whose name I've already forgotten, but
Mr. Hyen.
Mr. Hine. Justice is right across the street. Just ask him to come on over and let's hear directly.
So I would say that Peter Hine is not the right person here. He's merely the acting assistant attorney
Okay.
general for legislative affairs. He's just transmitting a substantive decision that's been made, presumably by Vanita Gupta as the associate attorney general, since he oversees the civil division, which represents law enforcement officers for lawsuits in the line of duty. Again, these officers have been hung out to dry. They have no reason. The one who's been denied has been given no factual reason why he was denied representation.
Well, could we
merely that
ask-
it was in the interest of the United States.
Who asked Ms.
I'm
not
I'd
wedded.
love to ask her.
I don't know who the appropriate person is. So let me amend my suggestion to bring the appropriate person to our next Judiciary Committee meeting to answer these questions.
I'm going to pursue this matter. We don't know the circumstances. We don't know if we're dealing with privacy issues, attorney-client privilege issues. We just don't know. We have one who's been denied. Maybe we can learn that, the facts behind that. Maybe we can't. You know, as an attorney, there are certain things that just maybe wouldn't be disclosed to the public related to personnel matters and the like. So I don't want to have an open hearing, people under oath, until we've at least taken another step of asking for follow-up on this letter. 3 are under review. Perhaps they'll be decided soon.
And I understand, Mr. Chairman. May I suggest that you attempt to get that answer from the Department of Justice, and if they don't answer within 10 days, I would reassert my suggestion that we ask Ms. Gupta to come on over and tell us what's going on,
I don't know if she's the appropriate person.
or the appropriate person.
And I would say we don't know the circumstances. These 4 marshals don't know the circumstances either. Here's what we do know. All 4 of them, all 4 are on unrestricted active duty with the Marshal Service. Now, there are cases in which the Department of Justice can legitimately decline representation if a law enforcement officer committed a serious felony in violation of clearly established law at the time that may be appropriate. But how could they possibly be denying representation to these 4 marshals and then sending them back out on unrestricted active duty?
Well, all I'm suggesting, Tom, is that this matter can be cleared up pretty quickly. I'm willing to start the meeting at 8 o'clock, whatever time you want to start it. Let's bring the appropriate person over from the Department of Justice and respectfully ask them what's going on here. Why aren't you representing these marshals? And if they say attorney-client privilege, whatever, we'll learn something.
I might also add that that letter made it clear that they would represent them for acting in the line of duty, which may be the issue. I don't know, but I will pursue it to get clarification from this letter, and we'll decide after that effort is made whether there's anything more that needs to be made. But I think that's the first reasonable request, is that they give us more information than contained in the letter that was received yesterday.
I would just ask, Mr. Chairman, that we don't allow them to rope-a-dope us. They give us an answer, and if they don't give us an answer, we think about bringing them over.
I respect that, and I'm willing to live by that standard.